It's the Jim Fannin Show. We've come to take your mind.
Am I still on? Here we go. Max Bernier is my guest. Welcome aboard. My brother, it's been a while. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're really busy. So how you feeling, first of all?
Very, very good. I'm in Montreal right now, and it was a nice day. Actually, a sunny day, 22 Celsius, and I did a run this afternoon. I I did run 10K, so that was fun, and I'm with you tonight.
I appreciate it, man. Listen, we've got so much I want to talk to you about, but I know you're busy in a limited time space that we've got to hear what you've got to say. I want to know what you think is most important about what you're doing right now in Canada.
But, as the leader of the People's Party of Canada, as you know, we are building this party. And I think it is important for the future of our country. And actually, I'm traveling across the country, speaking to our people, building the organization. And this weekend, I'll be in Northern Ontario. Next weekend also. And for me, we need to have a real discussion in politics, and we don't have that discussion right now in Canada. We are the only national political body that is saying no to climate hysteria and a climate emergency. We said no to the COVID hysteria also 2 years ago. And we need to have that discussion actually about these important issues for the future of our country. And that's what I'm doing, promoting our ideas and openly with passion and conviction. And we are growing that party.
Max Bernier is my guest. He's a member of parliament from 2006 to 2019, served as a cabinet minister in the Harper government. Then he ran for the Conservative Party leadership in 2017. And I didn't know this. You were actually leading through 12 rounds. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the past and your old party, but through 12 rounds of voting and then came in second with 49%. What happened in the 13th round? Did you not recruit the right group of people, or what happened?
I don't know what happened. I was supposed to win, and it was going very well in the beginning. And at the last round, I wasn't able to win. I didn't win with 49% of the vote. And, I had a very strong platform. Actually, what I was running on, the ideas that I had at that time are the same one this year, are the same one today. And we use that platform to create the People's Party. And actually, I left the Conservative in 2018. After 13 months, I tried to work with the leader at that time, Andrew Scheer, and I told him at that time, Andrew, why are you not taking some of our ideas? They were very popular. I had 49% of the vote. And he told me 30 months later that he won't take any of my ideas. And I must admit that he was very honest at that time. He said, Maxime, your idea were very popular with the membership of the Conservative Party of Canada. And we are going to an election, and we believe the election will be in 2019, and your ideas are not popular with the general population. So I won't take any of your ideas for our next electoral platform. And that's why I decided, I'm quitting that party. That party is not conservative anymore. They don't want to fight for real conservative values. And I said that the party is morally and intellectually corrupt. And we created in September 2018 the People's Party of Canada.
What's your plan for the party? I wonder if you're tempted to take a page out of Elizabeth May's book as far as putting all your resources behind getting you elected first. Do you think that's the single most important step to take, is actually getting a seat for yourself?
No, I don't think so. I believe that the most important for us is to grow our support. Look at the Green Party. After 35 years at the last election, they had less than 2% of the vote. And it took them 11 years to have more than 1.6% of the vote. We did that in our first election in 2019, and our second election in 2021, 5%. And our goal is to grow our support, and I believe we will. So maybe at the next election, my goal is if we can have between 5% and 10%, that would be great. And yes, I will work hard to be able to be elected, but that won't be the end of the world if I'm not elected. We will promote our ideas. I will travel across the country, and our time will come. So we need to grow our support. And, during the next election, I will campaign in my riding for sure. I'll be present there. But as the leader of a national party, I won't do like the leader of the Green Party, staying only in your riding. I have a responsibility to help other candidates also and to promote our ideas all across the country. And I will do that.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I know you've answered this question, including on my show before. And people still call you a globalist because of your appearance in Davos. What are your recommendations and positions on the WHO, the UN, and most importantly, the World Economic Forum?
So people must go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and read our policies. And actually what I said at the last election in 2021, I said the same thing at the first election in 2019. And I will say the same thing also at the next election. So, for example, we are the only national political party in Ottawa, in Canada, that is against the UN and the UN Migration Compact. We want sustainable immigration, and we don't believe in open borders. We don't believe in mass immigration. We are the only national political party that is saying no to the UN, no to the UN Compact on migration. We are the only political party at the federal level also that is saying no to the Paris Accord and to that climate urgency or hysteria. And we will withdraw from the Paris Accord. We are the only party. So we don't want to deal with the UN. The UN, I said, is a dysfunctional organization. So, and actually we can save a lot of money because the federal government is giving about $1 billion to the UN every year. And the UN, we will be able to save that money because the UN is a socialist organization. We will give money to the UN only if they're doing something in line with our values. And I doubt. So I believe that we will save a lot of money. And, for the World Economic Forum, I want to answer your question yes, I was in Davos in 2008, because at that time I was Foreign Affairs Minister. And if you remember at that time also, we Canada, we were in war in Afghanistan. And our Canadian forces didn't have, and still today don't have, the right equipment. So my goal was to meet my counterparts, other foreign affairs ministers, and ask them to help us in Afghanistan. And so I saw that in Davos in 2008, that's a great place to have a lot of meetings with these foreign affairs ministers because they were all there at the same time. So I decided to go there, and I had 32 meetings with my counterparts, and I was successful to have some help in Afghanistan for our country from Germany, from France, from UK. But I did not assist to the World Economic Forum. After my 2 days of meeting, I left. I did my job, and I was working for our Canadian forces. That's why I was in Davos. I'm not a globalist. And, I said that in 2019 when I did a debate with these establishment politicians. And I said, I'm the only one here on the stage that is not a globalist. And they agreed with that because they are globalists and I'm not. The People's Party is there to promote the sovereignty of our country, putting our country first and Canadian first.
I think you probably have a better grasp than most of us on the scandals that have plagued this Trudeau government. If you could rank them, I know it's difficult, but if you could rank them, what do you think is the most important scandal that he seemed to skate on everything? He seems untouchable. And then as a second part, if there was a direct personal action that Trudeau has taken that you think has been most damaging to Canadians, what would you say to those two?
Well, I believe, in our Constitution, we created that party, and it's written in our Constitution that this country has been built on the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So what Trudeau did, what was the most damaging for the country, is Trudeau is not respecting the rule of law. For Trudeau, respecting the rule of law, that's not so important. I'll give you an example. When we had the scandal of SNC-Lavalin here in Canada about 5 years ago, Trudeau was ready to make a deal with SNC-Lavalin for them not to be responsible. And so what he was saying, if you're a big corporation and you have great lobbyists in Ottawa, you can have a special deal. And instead of going to jail, they had to pay penalties, and that was it. So SNC-Lavalin was above the law. I believe that if you're the owner of a small business, small mom and pop shops, if you don't respect the law, you'll go in jail. So the rule of law is not respected under that government. And the best example of that was when Trudeau decided to invoke the Emergencies Act without no reason. And so he used that to be sure to punish people who donated to the Freedom Convoy. He used that to froze bank accounts. And so actually right now, we have an inquiry in Ottawa. And I believe that the report from the judge will be very clear, because in the legislation, there's some reasons to invoke that legislation. You must be under an insurrection or a war, or the life of Canadians must be in danger. That was not the case with the Freedom Convoy. And now you have witnesses in Ottawa that are coming and are saying, we were only there to protest these draconian measures, these mandates that were not respecting our Charter of Rights and our freedom to choose. So we'll have, I believe, I hope so, when the judge will table his report, I believe it must be early February 2023, that would be devastating for the Trudeau government. So Trudeau, it will be very hard for him to stay in power. When we'll have an election, I believe that more and more people are looking, and they know that Trudeau is not working for Canadians. He's working for the World Economic Forum, for the UN, promoting himself. and he has no respect for our constitution. So we'll be ready when that time will come, and we will show to every Canadian that we are a real alternative to all these establishment politicians.
Not to mention making himself rich in the process. So give me, while we're on it, give me your thoughts on this kangaroo court that's going on, this inquiry, if we can call it that. I'm not sure if many of the important people that have been slated to appear or asked to appear are going to appear, but just, I know you're probably not watching every second of it, but just give me your take on what's going on in Ottawa now with the theater.
Yeah, so that inquiry is going on, and a lot of people will be called as a witness. And so I believe that the Premier of Ontario will have to go there. So what is happening right now, it's positive for us. What I don't like from the justice system is, as you may know, I sue me and Brian Pitford, the federal government, because we didn't have the right to travel freely across our country when Trudeau imposed a vaccine passport on unvaccinated Canadians to be able to travel by plane, by boat, or by train. So, and Brian Pitford and myself decided to sue the federal government, and we did it. And actually, the lawyers from the government's lawyers decided to table a motion in front of the judge in September, saying to the judge, you must not listen and that case because actually these draconian measures are not enforced anymore. So the case is moot. So we had 1 day hearing about that a month ago, and last week the judge came with her decision, and she said to the government, "You're right, the case is moot." So she won't listen our arguments. We won't be able to go on with that, and I can tell you we are appealing that decision in front of the Federal Court of Appeal, but that's very disturbing because it's the credibility of the justice system. What is the message that the judge is sending to Canadians? The judge said, you can violate constitutional rights, and that would be okay. You just have to stop that, and like Trudeau did, he suspended the vaccine passport, and you'll be from a judge, and the judge will have to say, the case is moot. So you won't be able to have a decision from a tribunal about what happened a couple of months before. So it's very disturbing, and I believe that the credibility of the justice system is very low with that decision. So we need to appeal. We will appeal, and I hope we'll be able to win, because we need to have a decision from a tribunal that would create a legal precedent saying that all that was illegal, unconstitutional, immoral, unethical. And if we have one decision from one judge, that will be a legal precedent, and any government won't be able to do that in the future, because we'll have that decision. It will be clear that all that was unconstitutional. So now the tribunal, the judge decided not to play a role. And you have the executive, the legislative power, and the judiciary power. And she's saying to us and to Canadians, I won't decide about it. That's it. But Trudeau said actually last week that if people are not up to date with their shots, he may come back with the vaccine passport. So we argued that it was suspended and it can come back. And so the judge decided, no, the case is moot, and that's it. So I'm not confident with our justice system right now. I have very low confidence concerning the justice system. We must be able to be in front of the court and having a debate, and now we are not.
In your wildest dreams, did you ever, you've been in politics for a long time, Father was. I didn't know your father actually was a pretty prominent radio show host. Was he not? I didn't know that.
Yes, yes, he was a morning man in the beginning of the radio in 1951, 52
Shit.
In Beauce. And at the end of his career, he was elected a conservative under Brian Roney in 1984 until 1993.
Yeah, and so you've got a history, a family history in politics. In your wildest imagination, could you ever imagine fighting for the basic freedoms, fighting to protect children, our constitutional rights? Did you, like, I mean, I often joke, like, if you went to sleep even 8 years ago, 6 years ago, and then woke up yesterday, you would hardly recognize North American politics. Did you ever think it would come to a point where you were defending such basic biological facts, for lack of a better term?
Yes, you're right about that. I never saw myself, saying something that for me is normal. And like I said, actually, during a speech a couple of months ago, and I tweeted about that last week, when I said there is only two sexes, male and female. I never imagined that all that would be controversial.
You're lucky you still got a Twitter account.
Sorry?
You're lucky. You're very fortunate you still have a Twitter account saying stuff like that out there. You get canceled for that.
Yeah. That's very dangerous. You can be shadow banned saying that. So, yeah, for me, 20 years ago, that was not the case. And that's why I said in my speeches, what we need to do, it's a cultural war. And the woke are everywhere, in journalism, in politics, in the school system, universities, everywhere. And we have to fight that ideology. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why I said we need a common sense revolution in our country. And that won't come tomorrow. That's why I'm saying to our people, at the last election, we had 5% of the vote. Yes, I understand that nobody was elected, but a revolution, we need more time, and we'll have more time. Next time we may have 5 to 10%, I don't know, of the vote. I may be elected, and that would be another step. But yes, doing politics today, it's all about speaking about common sense. And the common sense is not so common in these days.
Just on a lighter note, tell me what happened to Warren Kinsella. And I found this old clip today on the internet, and this is a quote directly from him talking about you. He says, "And on this issue, Bernier is more than right. He's courageous, and he deserves the support of everyone who believes Canada, if it is to survive, must be built on a foundation of equality and mutual respect." He's come a long way since then, since he made that remark about you, including you suing him for libel. Tell me, what do you think has happened with some of these relationships where people just completely go the other way and they can't see objectively what's right in front of them anymore, it seems like?
Do you know when he said that? Did you have a date? Is it before I sue him or after that? Or
I would imagine it was before you sued him, but let me just pull this. Yeah, I'll pull you off screen here. And I think I have the link right here. Maxime Bernier. Oh, did I close it? No, Speaking for Canada. This was a little Canadian quiz. Oh, there's no date on it. I do have the link here. It says.
But that must be when I was a conservative, and and so not after that, because at our first election in 2019, as you know, we want to have fewer immigrants, a maximum of 150,000 a year, and not 450,000 a year, and the majority of them must be skilled immigrants, And so he said at that time that I was a racist. And actually, the Conservative Party of Canada paid him $100,000 to discredit myself and the PPC. I didn't want any competition, so and that's why I sue him for the defamation. And I didn't win my case. The judge said, yes, I can see some defamation of what he said, but is the freedom to express his point of view is more important. So
Wow.
I didn't win, and but I did my best, and that's why I don't believe a lot in our judiciary system right now.
Mhm.
But I fought and I didn't win. That's it.
Right. And Justin Trudeau was elected partly for campaigning on, well, many promises that he completely broke, one including this being the last election under first past the post. We've talked about this before. I understood you and actually supported your call. We don't want to take on anything that requires a constitutional amendment. But I'm hoping you proceed. It's been a few months since I've spoken to you about this. Will your party adopt a positive position and promote the idea of electoral reform, specifically proportional representation, so we don't end up with 33%, 35%, or 36% of the popular vote forming a majority government that doesn't even need the support of the smaller parties?
Yes, you're absolutely right on it. And yes, we will have a policy on that, and our position evolve. And you're right, saying in the beginning, oh, I'm not so for that. But I think it's important to put more proportionality in our electoral system. I don't want to destroy our history and our political system and the way that we are voting in Canada. But there's some thing that we can do, and putting more proportionality. With 5% of the vote, why not having 5% of the representation in Parliament? So yes, I believe that it is important to have that discussion and to bring that subject in front of the public opinion. And I will do that at the next general election.
Tell me about your show. You've gotten into podcasting now. You've got Mad Max Live. And don't consider you a competition in the field or anything, but tell me about how it's going, who you've had on, and what was the kind of the general objective of getting in the broadcast business?
Yeah, for me, it's another way to promote our platform. It's another way also to answer questions coming from Canadians. And I try to do that every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's more difficult because I'm traveling across the country, and I'm doing it also with our executive director. Danielle is our executive director for the People's Party. And it's another opportunity. We are publishing it on, yes, for sure, YouTube, Rumble, and other social media platform. So it's going well. It's growing. It's only the beginning. But yeah, I need to do more, to be more visible, if I can express myself like that, because I cannot count on the mainstream media. We had more support than the Green Party, but we have less coverage coming from the mainstream media, and so that's why I'm using every platform and speaking to alternative independent media. And the Mad Max show is another great opportunity for me also.
Speaking about wokeness in the media, that's a perfect segue. CBC at some level has always been, quote, what happened to woke? Woke used to be like an objective term. Now it's been completely hijacked by the lefties. I still think there's hope for us to get it back. Like woke is red-pilled, like people that actually get the truth. But, and so the state-funded broadcaster CBC has always kind of, leaned towards, whoever was in power, it seems like. But now we've seen, like global news, I don't remember being all that woke. And now we've got people like Rachel Gilmore, who are the head pigs at the trough, just soaking. And these are new people that are like, e-girl wannabe kind of, almost makeup tips on TikTok. She's a TikTok queen and doing nothing but propagating the mainstream narrative that the government's putting out there. Tell us a little bit about your experience of the mainstream media now, and then kind of couch that with who do you respect in the business, if anyone now, who's doing, I've had, who do we have on? I had John Kay on a couple weeks ago. Andy Lee I had on a few weeks ago too, who's doing a lot of heavy lifting, Rupa, so I've got my fans out there, but tell us a little bit about, do you have any hope for the mainstream media, and do you have anyone that you're fond of, or at least can give objective props to as far as doing their job the way it should be done objectively in Canada?
Yeah, like you, I like Rupa. She did a good job with the Freedom Convoy. She was the only journalist who was there in person during that Freedom Convoy, and she did great interviews also. And so, but I believe more in the independent media, True North, Rebels News, all these podcasters like yourself, and the future is there. Actually, I had a discussion about it with Jordan Peterson, and I told him, I said, Jordan, I try to be in the mainstream media. They are canceling me. They are ignoring me. They don't want to cover what we are doing at the People's Party. And he said, forget it, Maxime. Forget it. Don't push to be there. The future is on social media. And I believe that is right. But the other challenge that we have with social media is the censorship. It's everywhere. During COVID-19, it was everywhere. I was shadow banned on Twitter. I used to grow my supporter about 1,000 new supporters every 3 days. And the last 8 months, I was at 189,000 followers for 8 months. And so now, because of the new discussion about the acquisition of Twitter by what's his name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Thank you. Now there's discussion, and now I'm not shadow banned anymore. I'm around 200,000 followers, so that's going well. But yes, the challenge with social media is the censorship. But when I'm traveling across the country, for the mainstream media, the local mainstream media, the local newspaper, the local radio station, they're a little bit more fair. They're not like the national one. So that's an opportunity for me, because when I'm traveling, usually I will do an interview with the local newspaper and the local radio station. So, but when I'm doing a national press conference in Ottawa, I can, about any subject, I'm sending invitations to everybody, but the mainstream media is never there. And so I'll do what I have to do. But for me, the federal government must cut all the funding to all these mainstream media.
Amen.
$500 million that the Trudeau gave to all these Global Mail and all these mainstream media, plus the CBC, $1.2 billion a year. The media must be independent, not dependent on the government like right now. So, but we won't see any changes with the mainstream media unless we cut the funding, and that's part of our proposal.
Amen to that. I'm glad you brought up Jordan Peterson's name. I was, tongue in cheek when I was, quote, introducing you two on Twitter under my old account years ago. I thought it would make all the difference, and I was so happy when you two got together. And Jordan's gone through a lot of stuff, including his dependency, his physical dependency on benzos, and man, like he was in a rough way, and he's come back. And I've got a lot of time for this guy that's, doing the psychological significance of Bible verses, who's talking to young men, who's telling, get your shit together. Don't, clean your own room. Don't go out there and complain about everything else. If you get a shitty back room, a shitty bedroom, don't go out and, talk about other people's bedrooms. So, and I thought that would make a huge difference for you. I'm sure you saw a bump in your popularity, but now Jordan seems to be switching over to his focus, which seems to be, the king in waiting, for lack of a better term, Poilievre with the Conservatives. And I'm a little worried that the success of the Conservative Party is going to hurt your party. How do you continue to grow and get seats and maybe capture a bigger portion of the votes when so many people want Trudeau out of office, and they think that the only way to do it is to vote for the dog leading the pack out there, which happens to be the Conservatives, I guess, now?
Yes. What I must say that first, when people are saying, Poilievre is taking some of your votes and you're going down in the poll, they're taking for granted that 100% of our supporters are coming from the Conservative Party of Canada. And I traveled a lot across the country. I can tell you that it's about a third of our supporters that are coming from the Conservative Party. Another third are coming from the Liberals and the NDP and the Green. Mm-hmm. And another third is the people that never voted at the federal level.
Those are the people you want.
Yes. Sure. Yes. So now Poilievre is the flavor of the month. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And yes, some of our supporters that were coming from the Conservative Party are looking to go back. And for me, that's okay. We will grow. Because of our position on common sense and fighting for workers and saying no to the World Economic Forum, we have a lot of policies that are different from the Conservative. Climate change, Poilievre won't do anything there. He will impose more regulation on businesses. I can go on about wokeism. Poilievre won't speak about that. Poilievre won't have the courage to say that there's only two sexes. And so there's a lot of policies that are different. Immigration, Poilievre won't say anything about immigration. So that's why we can grow. And I believe, like you, I want Trudeau to be out. I want the Liberals to be out. And maybe Poilievre has more chances than myself to be Prime Minister after the next election. I understand that. We are growing a movement, a party. But what I'm telling to people, if Poilievre is winning in the polls, and right now it's going well for him, so people can say, I want to vote to be sure that Poilievre will be honest, to be sure that Poilievre won't go to the left. And we are the insurance policy for these people, because we will support the Conservative when they'll be conservative. And if they're not, we won't support them. So we can be the insurance policy to be sure that Poilievre will stay in the right direction, because he will try to go to the left to please people in the big GTA in Ontario. There's more seats in the big GTA than in all Alberta together. So he may try to go to the left. And so we can be the kind of NDP of the right. The NDP right now is pushing Trudeau to the left, and now we have a socialist government. So we can push, if Poilievre has a minority, we can push Poilievre to the right to be sure that he's going to stay honest to his conservative principles. So yes, we have a future, and I believe that there's a lot of NDPs that are looking at us, and they know that the NDP now is the woke party. So I believe that, like I said in the beginning, the next election we can have between 5 and 10%. We can double our score. At the first election, we almost triple our score from 1.6 to 5. So step by step, we will grow. But I can tell you that we will never do any compromise with our principles. What you get is what you see, it's what you get. and read our platform today, and in 3 years it will be the same platform. So that's why we are doing politics differently, and our goal is to offer an alternative for Canadians to vote for something different, and that's the PPC. So I believe that we have a place, and I believe that we'll play a role after the next election for sure.
Just on the way out, thank you for that. I want you to leave us with a little bit of hope. But if just, this is fantasy, but if you were King of Canada, elected with a massive majority, top three things that you do right away. The thing, obviously, the first thing, the most important thing, and give us your top three.
Well, top three, when you're in government, you can start by doing more than three priorities, because you'll be prime minister and you'll give directives to your ministers. And I believe that the first one is to cut all ties with the World Economic Forum. It's easy to do. And also it would be the immigration reform, to say no to mass immigration. We'll do that. We'll also save all the money, climate change and all these programs. We won't do that. We are broke. We cannot do it. And we're not in a climate history. So we can do that. We will, the first budget, we will cut the CBC, $1.2 billion. So yeah, there's more than one or three. We can all do that in our first year, because our minister will be very busy to implement our electoral platform.
I appreciate your time, my brother. You've always been generous with it, and so thank you for that. Did you pay any attention to the Ontario municipal elections? And if you did you see any lights there, any positive signs out of any of the results in the regional or municipal elections?
Yes, I said, I was in BC and I was in Ontario recently. And I said, that common sense reform, we must do that everywhere, at the municipal level, at the provincial level, and at the federal level. And I encourage everybody to vote for the non-woke candidate at the municipal election. And in BC and in Ontario, they had also a municipal election. I didn't follow the details of that, but my team told me that there are some of non-woke candidates that were elected. So that's a good news. And that's why that fight, it's at every level that we must do it.
And just a message of hope for any of us that are black-pilled. Some of us has come a long way, but taking the red pill, and then once you see the truth, you get black-pilled and you feel suicidal and hopeless because you can't change the world government that's coming. So, to any of us that are on, I've ordered a case of clown pills now. So I try to look at everything like it's parody. Like, I cannot take this stuff seriously. So on the way out, just anything positive that you can give to us political addicts that think we'll never get our life back. Like, what can we do to stay positive and stay in this game?
Yeah, I will use Jim as an example. What happened the last 2 years, in March 2020, I did rallies in Montreal and across the country for our freedoms. And it was not popular at that time. The first rally that I did in Montreal, maybe were only 500 people, but the last one, about 45,000 people on the street. So what I'm telling you is in the beginning of that pandemic, people fighting for their rights and their respect of their body and the freedom of choice. We were the minority. But because of all that, because of the Freedom Convoy, because of all these rallies across the country in small towns and big cities, we were able to shift the public opinion, to move the public opinion. And now the reality is that they did a survey in my own province in Quebec a month ago, and 69% of vaccinated Quebecers said that they won't take any more shots. Wow. That's it. Enough is enough. So now we have the majority on our side. We were able to move that majority. And that's so important because we know that these establishment politicians don't do politics by conviction and principles. They are doing politics looking at the polls, and they will tell you what you want to hear today. And they don't want to change the public opinion and to inform the public opinion. So right now, because the majority is on our side, that's why we won't have any lockdowns, we won't have any curfew, any stay-at-home orders this winter. We want the debate, and we need to do that on every subject. And now the truth is out there. I said during the rallies, the truth will always prevail, and the time is on our side. We are on the right side of history. And now everything is happening right now, step by step, in the alternative media. We know what happened with COVID-19. We know that everybody can catch COVID and spread it. And now it's coming a little bit into the mainstream media. So step by step, that's why I'm saying to people, we want the battle on COVID-19. They won't impose any restrictions. So we need to do that on the wokeism, Paris Accord, mass immigration. And the more we speak about what we believe, the more support we will have. But, I'm telling you, what is the point? What is the goal? To have the best ideas if we keep them for ourselves. That's why I'm always saying to people, stand up and speak out about what you believe. And we will win that battle. Be part of the change and be the change, and we will win. But I agree with you. The next couple of years or months may be difficult economically because of the inflation and the recession.
Mm-hmm.
But we must fight, and I'm doing that fight in Canada to regain our country. And that's why we are here. That's why I'm fighting for that. And I'm optimistic. It will happen. I cannot tell you when, but it will. Like COVID-19 and all these restrictions, they ended, and they won't be able to impose that anymore.
Well, I love you, brother. And I often, I find myself, when my followers are coming up against you, I find myself, and most of the times I just leave them alone, but I'm like, no, when they start chirping you, I'm like, dude, tell me a more principled politician. This guy is not going by the polls. He's going with his principles, and they'll never change. So I got a lot of time for you, Max. I really appreciate your generosity with your time. Thank you very much. And God love you. Never change, my brother. Stay golden. Stay healthy.
You, Jim.
Keep those runs going, man.
Thank you. And stay strong and free.
All right. Well, I'm in the Dominican Republic. I think this is one of the freest countries in the world, man. You buy the cops lunch and you're down the road. Anyways,
good for
Max,
you.
Good talking to you, brother. We'll talk soon. Ciao.
Bye.
Max Bernier, if you need him, he's always been generous with the time, and he continues to be Max Bernier, who never changes. And having said that, he has had a change of heart on his electoral reform plank of the platform. I'm tickled pink about it. Is that a thing now? Can you still be tickled pink? I've been working Max on this point. Last time he did say that he was flexible on it, and they were going to look at it again. That was all I needed. And today he confirmed that the PPC will be, other than the Green Party, will be, I don't know what happened to the NDP certainly isn't playing that game, but Justin Trudeau was elected partly on the fact that he said he would abolish. This was the last election under first past the post election style, and I'm really glad to hear Max Bernier commit to having a plank in his platform that calls for electoral reform. Whether or not he, specifically endorses MMP or PR or proportional representation, that has yet to be seen. There's a whole bunch. There's MMP, there's STV, there's all kinds of different styles of it, but there shows that the guy is not completely inflexible. So the links are in the show description. If you want to get a question out, put it in the comments section. I'll make sure he gets it. And peace, love, hug your neighbor, and whatever you do, take the mask off your children's face. If you're still putting one on, shame on you. I'm out.